What's going on, everyone? So there is a lot of talk on potential head coaches for the Los Angeles Lakers. One name that's been thrown into the ring was mentioned a couple days ago, but there was a report that came out today that the Lakers are heavily interested in Charles Lee from the Boston Celtics. He is an assistant coach with the Boston Celtics. He's been an assistant for like 10 years now, something like that. He was with the Bucks when they won their championship. He's been with like Atlanta, Boston. He's been with like several teams throughout the organization, primarily as an assistant. Here's my problem with Charles Lee, is I feel like you're just going to Darvin Ham again, right? Because, again, Charles Lee, just like Darvin Ham, was an assistant, but he was also assistant under Mike Budenholzer, right? A lot of his philosophies, a lot of his ideas are Mike Budenholzer, right? Which Darvin Ham was a protege of Mike Budenholzer. Now, maybe he's picked up some different things with the Boston Celtics and stuff, but, you know, is Joe Mazzulla a coach that many people go, man, that's the guy? I mean, people still have questions, even with Boston just being ridiculously talented. A lot of people feel like Joe Mazzulla isn't a good coach by any stretch. I don't think he's a very good coach by any stretch. And I think if they get, eliminated again, then I think Joe Mazzulla's on his way out, right? And to me, the Celtics kind of feel like one of those things, like their roster is insanely stacked, right? Especially, particularly their starting five. Right? They have the best five-man unit in the league. I could probably look at as a great head coach if I was coaching the Boston Celtics, right? So, I don't know. It's just, do we really want another Mike Budenholzer protege that may or may not work, that doesn't have head coaching experience again, that you're going through the same process again, which, like I said, I think if you're going to go the route of inexperienced head coach, you might as well just go with JJ Redick, because at least, again, he's going to have the respect of the locker room. He's going to have the respect of LeBron James. He's a guy that has the brain for a head coaching level. But, yeah, again, there's not this like great plethora of head coaches. But I feel like if you're just going to sign a Mike Budenholzer protege again, you might as well just sign Mike Budenholzer, right? And I'm not even really super sold on that, because I just feel like Mike Budenholzer, yes, he's a championship level head coach. He's won a championship with it. But like, and I'm not saying he's a bad head coach by any stretch of the imagination, but like, he's not like all the problems we had with Darvin Ham are because of Mike Budenholzer. Mike Budenholzer was fired from the Bucks for a lot of the same reasons that Darvin Ham was fired. Lost the locker room, right? Not properly utilizing timeouts, not properly utilizing players, right? Questionable lineup rotations, right? It's just like you're going down the Darvin Ham path all over again. Now, look, a lot of this is just due diligence, right? The Lakers are going to interview anybody and everybody just to make sure. And, you have to interview X amount of coaches and stuff. It's how it goes, right? So to me, it's not like, again, you have to get this right. You can't afford to pick the wrong head coach. But I just feel if you're going to take a flyer on anybody, take a flyer on a guy like a JJ Redick, or, bring in, like I said, a Kenny Atkinson. I think that's kind of where I lean, right? Because it's like, again, Mike Budenholzer, not really super sold on. You have like the Van Gundys that are out there, Terry Stotts, okay. Like, I'm not super sold on Stotts. Like, I would rather you go and bring in, if you wanted Stotts, I'd rather you just bring in like a JJ Redick as the head coach and then have Terry be the assistant coach, right? Something along those lines where, you kind of have this balance. You have somebody with experience on the bench. It's just Charles Lee, again, I don't know. Maybe he's a great coach, right? Maybe he doesn't have the same concerns and issues as Darvin Ham. We don't know. That's the problem. Right? We're just going off of what tree does he come from, right? What is the coaching tree that extends to him? And it's like, okay, well, Mike Budenholzer, Joe Mazzulla, right? It's just like, it's not this great pedigree where if the coaching tree was a Greg Popovich, it's like, okay, well, maybe, he has the philosophies, he has the understanding, he comes from a great pedigree of a head coach. Maybe he's somebody that can kind of line correctly to where the Lakers can, especially if Greg Popovich were to give him validation. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like if you're going to go that route, you might as well just get Mike Budenholzer and hope that he can correct some of the things, because at least he has the experience, he has the understanding, right? He can properly construct this roster, and again, he does have championship caliber as far as coaching goes, but it's not somebody that I look at and go, man, like he's like, would we be better with Mike Budenholzer? Like, let's say you swap Mike with Darvin Ham. Would we have been better this year? Yes. Right? Absolutely. I just don't know how much better, right? Like, there would have been some things that Mike did better. I think some of the in-game adjustments in particular, he might have done better. But, like, he's also not this, like, great, like, mastermind of, like, oh, let's break down and let's swap this guy and do this. No, he's, again, a lot of the same issues Darvin Ham has are because of Mike Budenholzer. And so I want to get a head coach that we can have some longevity in. It's one of the reasons why I kind of lean towards just get JJ Redick, put the right pieces around him, and I think he can have a level of success, right? Like, the bar isn't very high after Darvin Ham, right? And I do have questions and concerns about the lack of head coaching experience from JJ Redick. I'm not really concerned with the X's and O's and like the in-game stuff, but it's just the game management. Like, how does that work? But if you get somebody that does understand it, again, like a Terry Stotts on the sideline alongside him, that's like, hey, now would be a good time to call a timeout or something like that, right? Like, things like that to kind of just help guide him, I think could go a long way, right? Like, can we put together like a new sort of like Avengers of coaching staff? Like, look at the 2020 coaching staff, right? Like, it wasn't just Frank Vogel. It was, Frank Vogel, Lionel Hollins, Jason Kidd, right? Like, you had Phil Handy, right? You had a just excellent balance and influx of just coaching experience and talent and, big brains that all were coming together to help that Lakers team win. I mean, as good as the Lakers roster was that year, the coaching staff was equally as good, right? You had just this great balance. To me, I kind of would like to get to something like that, right? Like, go get a Jason Kidd and then put the proper pieces on his bench alongside him and kind of let him, be the offensive side of things, get that defensive-minded head coach, get that JJ Redick would also be the player coach that you want. So now you have the X's and O's, you have the defense. Bring back Phil Handy for the player coach and the development coach and stuff like that, and start rounding out this roster. It's just, or this bench roster, right? Like, the coaching, some of these names that are being thrown out there, it's just like, that's really the answer? And again, I don't necessarily, just because a name gets thrown out there doesn't mean the Lakers are actually going to hire them. That doesn't necessarily mean that's who the Lakers, like, that's the candidate. But interviewing somebody also is the first step in potentially hiring them, right? And it's just like, again, we don't have a history of Charles Lee and going like, oh, that's somebody that would work. The only thing we have is just the coaching, resume as far as like, who are the head coaches, right? Coming from that tree, right? What are those coaches? And the list of head coaches that he's been the assistant under are not ones that I go, man, like, oh yeah, like, this is somebody that can really kind of change things, right? Like, it's just, I have my concerns that you hire him and now you got Darvin Ham all over again, right? You got somebody that the in-game adjustments are questionable. He doesn't properly utilize timeouts. I mean, Joe Mazzulla's famous for that. I mean, Joe Mazzulla, if there's anybody in the league that has been worse with timeout calling than Darvin Ham, it's Joe Mazzulla, right? So you have Mike Budenholzer, who doesn't like to use timeouts. You have Joe Mazzulla, who doesn't like to use timeouts. And we're expecting Charles Lee to understand and grasp how to properly utilize and call timeouts. I don't know. And again, like, I mean, you can make the argument, do the same thing that I said with JJ Redick, where you bring in a Charles Lee and then you surround him with like a Terry Stotts and, maybe get some key pieces on the bench that kind of help out. But I just think that there's better candidates, right? Like I said, just go get, the reason I'd prefer JJ Redick over something like that is because JJ Redick, you most of the things you want checked off from a head coach, JJ checks off, right? Otherwise, go get Kenny Atkinson, right? Like, he's a good analytics guy. I do have questions about, like, some of the nuances, but I do think that he would be I think he's probably the best out of like the available candidates, right? And he's the guy that's not afraid to challenge players and whatnot. And he's known to be a little bit of a hothead, right? Like, I mean, what was the game? I don't remember who they were playing at the time, but where he's like, he gets attacked and he's like literally going after the refs, and he's like pushing guys out of the way and stuff. Like, players are trying to stop him, and he like put a player in like almost put him in like a chokehold or something, like stuff like that. But I like the fire, right? I'm okay with that, right? Like, I want somebody like Darvin Ham's just standing there, just like the whole time. He's just like, dude, can you do something? Like, I'd rather a guy that's out there like, like at least you're showing me some level of passion, some level of like, hey, urgency, right? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Charles Lee? Do you not? Are you not familiar with Charles Lee? I kind of wanted to kind of touch on, where he comes from and stuff like that as far as coaching tree goes, because, again, he's not somebody that I'm sure many people are familiar with. So, anyway, like I said, love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.